Hey, welcome to part 3 of Amara, where we're going to tackle the final lining construction, including the pockets and the zipper bridge, and then putting everything together. So first thing on our list is the inside zipper pocket. So grab your 2 pieces, and from the bottom edge we're going to measure up 3/4 of an inch. Do this on both. And then this bottom edge we're going to bring up to meet this mark that we've drawn on, and we're going to press. So do that for both pieces. Once you've done that, grab one of them, and we're going to draw a box for the zipper. So you want it to be this ruler's not big enough. I'll try this one. This is the quickest way I do my zipper boxes. That's annoying. Try again. 3rd time's a charm. This one's got the 3/8 line that I need. So from the top edge, I've drawn a line 1 inch down, and then another one, 3/8 below that. And then I'm just going 3/4 of an inch in from the sides. And that is the box for the zipper. So grab one of your lining body pieces. And this is going to sit 1 inch down from the top edge. So if you don't have a long ruler, you can just fold these in half to make like a crease. And then match up the crease lines. But that is centered. Oh, really creaky chair today. Builders next door, creaky chair, pigeons. It's all going on. So we're going to sew these 2 pieces together, the right sides together, on top of this box line. If you have these extra lines like I have, just ignore them. They're not there. So once you've sewn them together, you will be looking at step 53, which is I'm drawing this terribly because I'm trying not to get my head in the way of the camera. Something like that. Yours is probably going to be straighter than mine. But this is going to be our cut line for inside this box. It doesn't need to be perfect. What you need to make sure is that you go as, hang on, fingers and thumbs here, close to the corners as you're comfortable. The closer the better, without cutting the stitches. If you do accidentally cut the stitches, don't stress, just re-sew the box around the outside a little bit bigger. Can't see my green thread. There it is. And what this will allow us to do is push this through the hole so that it appears on the reverse. So give all that a good press, roll the seams between your fingers and give it all a really good steamy press. Then you should end up with this lovely crisp looking box. So this is the box that we sewed in place. And this is now on the wrong side of the lining body. Now let's go ahead and add our zipper. So we're adding it with the pull to the left side. If you want to do it with a pull on the right, that's fine. You'll just need to pay attention later when we're constructing things. It's not a big deal. I'm going to use double-sided tape. So I've got this nice thin stuff so that it won't be seen inside that little boxy bit. If you're concerned, feel free to pop it along the edges of here first rather than putting it on the zip. But I've used this tape a lot, so I know it's good. And then I'm just going to center it and then move the pull over, but the pull is on the left. I'm doing this again so that I can see. So something like that, something like that. That needs to pull over. I'm going to sew these together around the outside of this box, top stitching, but using a regular stitch length. And sew them together. There we go. So ideally I would have used a coordinated thread, but I've left this colour in so that you can see. Nicely does it. So flip it over and we're going to add the remaining zipper pocket piece. So folded edges at the bottom, match them up. And I'm going to clip these together. So if you're using pins, just make sure that you don't pin through the lining body. We're only pinning these pieces together. And we're going to sew them together using seam allowance or 1/4 inch. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. So what I like to do, I do it this way. So when I sew them together, then I can move the lining body out of the way. So 3 sides together, leave this folded edge unsewn for our turning, fixing up gap later on. So that's that sewn in, and we have the gap at the bottom. The only thing I'm going to do is just trim off, oops, the corners. That is the zipper pocket part done. And moving swiftly on, super swiftly, moving on to the slip pocket. So you have 2 pieces right side together, and we're going to sew them together. But this time we're going to leave the bottom edge open. So we're going to sew up, across and down using regular seam allowance. So sew them together. I'm going to cut off the corners, something like that, and then turn it right side out. We just need to push out the corners from the inside fill the seams, give it all a good press, and then once you've pressed it, we're going to top stitch along this top edge only. So top stitched and lovely. Grab your remaining lining body piece. Now I have folded and I've just got a little crease at the bottom to mark the center, and then I've also just given this a little pinch to find the center of the bottom edge. The bottom edge is obviously the open edge, and we're going to place them together. This pocket sits right at the bottom, because what I find with a big pocket is when you stuff it, it starts to draw the bag down. It wants to sag. So this pocket sits on the bottom of the bag, and then it's got the support it needs. We all need a little bit of support now and again. So I'm going to sew these together. We're going to go down this side and down this side, top stitching, but using a regular stitch length. If you wish to, you can also base stitch along the bottom edge. I do recommend it, but if you don't want to, I'm not going to twist your arm. But these ones are important, top stitching to make the pocket. There we go, it's top stitched and basted. So this is nice and secure now. If you wish to, you can add a pen pocket. And you do that by measuring in 2 inches from the side of the slip pocket, so either that side or that side, and mark using erasable fabric marker or washi tape, and sew on top of your marked line. Because whether this is going to be a changing bag, a work bag, an overnight bag, pen pockets are handy. So I'm actually not going to do one on this one. I'm going to leave it into a nice big slip pocket. And then that is the lining body pieces done, which means moving on to the zipper bridge, everyone's favourite thing. Zipper bridge, we have 2 lining pieces, 2 accent pieces. Now ideally you have used non-directional fabric, which means it doesn't matter which way around these goes. If you have used directional fabric, and you can you can either have them so that the fabrics are opposite ways, or both the same way, but have a think about that before you start making and marks and folding ends, which way around you want your fabric to look. Obviously mine doesn't matter, but I didn't realise that I had gone so close to the salve edge, so this is going to be my folded end. So 1 inch in from one end of each piece. That's a terrible line, so I'm doing it the wrong way around. I'm trying to do it. Oh goodness. There we go. That's a little bit better. Then we're going to fold these, bringing the raw edges in to meet the folded line. So one end only is going to be folded on each piece. So let's go and press these. So we have our folded pieces, and we're just going to grab one of each. So start with the accent bridge piece, and you've got the folded end on the right here. And what I'm going to do is measure in 3/4 of an inch from this left side edge. I know it's blue on blue, but I can actually see that, so I'm all good. The zipper, I'm going to open it, and this is why we've stitched over the end so that we don't fling it off. The zipper is going right side down so that you can see the wrong side of the zipper. And we are measuring raw edge to, or matching I should say, raw edge to raw edge. And the end, this open end, is meeting the marker that we've made. We're going to base stitch these together within the seam allowance, so nice along the edge. If you need to, switch to a zipper foot. There we go, so I've basted them together, and these go right sides together. And matching up and making sure that the folded ends are on the same side. Before I do this though, I'm going to just mark my seam allowance for this corner. I'm going to put these together. Right, so the right sides together, the folded ends are on the same end. Right, and we're going to sew them together, but not all the way around. We're only going to sew the short end and the long end with the zipper tape in it. This folded end is left unsewn. I know, I've just spewed out like 1,000,001 words, but trust me, trust me. I'm going to use seam allowance, and I'm actually switching back over to my narrow zipper foot. There we go. So you can see where I've sewn, and you can see where I haven't sewn. So we're going to turn these pieces right side out, but before we do, I'm just trimming off the corner, and I'm also trimming this short end. Threads everywhere. Honestly, you should see what a mess I've made off screen. Right, and then these can now be turned so that they're right side out. So push out the corner. Like that. So give them a good press. And once you've pressed, we're going to top stitch. But what we're going to do is go around the whole of the box. So we're matching up these folded ends together, jiggle the one in if needed, so that they match up. This one doesn't have to be a normal seam allowance. You can increase it to a basting length, or just go the whole way round using the same. It's all good. There we go. That's sewn in place. You can see better on the back where I have top stitched the whole way round. So keeping that wrong side down, grab your remaining bridge piece. And we've still got the folded edge on the right side. We're going to do our 3/4 inch mark on the bottom edge, because obviously we're doing opposite now. And again, we're matching raw edge to raw edge with the open end against this marker we've just made. and then we can base stitch these together all the way across. So try not to go too far past this folded end. Like that. And then we're going to add on the lining bridge right sides together with the folded ends. I'm just going to draw on my stitching guide, because obviously this is going to be the corner. Because we sew the short unfolded ends together and the long side along the zipper. So put them together, pin or clip if needed, and then sew them together there to there only. And once that's sewn, you can trim off the back. Right side out. Give it a press and top stitch the rectangle, so all the way around, but press first. Right, moment of truth. They should, in theory, be the same, matchy-matchy. If you find that one is wonky, like mine ever so slightly, you can pull the zipper off and readjust it. Only do that if you are confident with putting the zip back on. Otherwise, you're just setting yourself up for troubles. But that's that. We can go and construct the main part of the lining. I am just going to adjust this because I don't know what's happened, but that will really bug me. It's like one notch to one notch. Bear with. So I've tinkered with the zipper bridge so that they match up now. Huzzah! And all I've done is I've taken them apart and then I've just pushed the right side in a little bit before the left. Easy done, really. So grab your zipper pocket piece, and then when we lay these together, these zippers will open the same way, this one and this one. It's a nice touch. If, however, you put this zipper in so that the pull is on the right, have this way, so again it will match, they'll open the same direction. So we need this centered. It is nice. And we're going to base stitch these together across the top within the seam allowance. So like 1/4 inch or a smaller seam is perfect. So once they're basted together, take one of your lining top, let me just check that, lining body top pieces. Now these are, both pieces are angled, so you want the one that matches. Obviously that's too big, and that one is spot on. So you want the one that matches. If it's too big, it's wrong way around. and I'm going to flip them so that they are right side together. So this is what I did on mine. When I cut it out, I wrote the top. Just little things to help yourself along the way. And we're going to sew these together using a regular seam allowance. So once you've sewn them together, you can push this top piece upwards, give it a press, and top stitch alongside the seam so the seam allowances are facing upwards, rather than fold this bulk back on itself. It'll sit a lot nicer this way. So give it a press first. There we go. So it's a top stitch, and that one is secure. Both zippers open the same way. Now open this. Obviously I have taken that zipper off, haven't I? That was close. This is normally what I do instead of actually stitching the ends. Right, open your zipper. Grab the remaining lining body piece, and we're going to do the same again, exact same. So center it. Nice. And base stitch in place. Don't worry about if the zipper's doing turning things. We'll sort that out later. Don't even stress about what this is doing. It's just along for the ride at the minute. Base stitching. And then we can add our remaining lining body top piece. So again, double check if it's too wide. It's wrong. You want it to fit perfecto like that. I'm going to sew them together using seam allowance, open it up, press open, and top stitch exactly like we did before. So we have sewn in the tops. So the lining bodies are done, and we can start some final construction. We're nearly there. We're so nearly there. Right, what we need to do is lightly fold. I know what you're thinking, why didn't we do this earlier? We should have. I say we. I'm the one that's giving directions. Right, I've got the centre. This one we did already do because we found the centre when putting in the pocket. So that one's good. The dividers, we should have found the centres early on. I've still got my creases, but I am just going to mark them so they're a bit more visible. Right. Take the side that has the zipper pocket, and you want to have your divider so that the zipper opens the same way as the pocket and the closure. So when this is closed, obviously the pull will be on the left, this pull is on the left, so this one needs to be on the left too. And try and think of the gusset as a whole piece here. So ignore this middle bit, we're not sewing anything else to this middle bit now. It's just the edges. So one here, and this is exactly how we did the outer bag earlier. And if you're doing any other gusseted bag, it's just the same. We're just ignoring the fact that we have a divider for now. this I'm gonna flip over there so that the zipper is inside and out of the way. And all I'm doing is working it round. Got bits of cotton everywhere. There we go. So when we're sewing these together, just remember we're going on this side bit, not the middle bit, all around the outside using a regular seam allowance. This bit is obviously going to tag along. We'll fix that on in a second. Oh my gosh, almost forgot to mention the turning gap, and I nearly forgot to mention it because I'm not doing this on mine. So there are two options for this bag. You can either, on this side that we're sewing in now with the zipper pocket, leave this whole bottom edge open for turning the bag through, and then what we'll do is at the end we'll complete this part by pulling it through the zipper pocket. Or you can turn the whole bag through the zipper pocket itself. It is completely up to you. What I will say is it's easier to turn through the bottom of the bag, but it's fiddlier to sew up later. So easier for turning, fiddlier to sew up later. It's more of a squeeze to put through here, but it is easier to close the turning gap. Now, my vote is to turn through this pocket. That's my vote. But if you want to turn through the bottom of the base, leave this whole flat edge open. So you would sew down to here, obviously back stitch, start here and go up to the top, and leave this whole bit open. It's completely up to you. The choices are there. Like I said, I have tried it before and I know that this bag fits through the pocket. So that's what I'm going for. So once that part is sewn in place, you're either going to have a gap or you won't. What I would suggest now is doing up the zipper. You only have to do it about halfway, just to make sure that this part isn't twisted, because you don't want to sew it in and then find the zips twisted. And we're just going to match it up again. So go with a mark on the gusset, tuck in your zipper end, and then we're going to sew these together again. You can see it's coming along. So sew them together all the way around, regardless of whether you've got a turning gap or not on the other side. This side is all the way. So we have our completed lining. If you haven't got a gap in the bottom of your lining, very important, open your zipper. Now we're going to turn this lining right side out, and in the pattern I've said to make sure that the gap is visible. Have the divider and the pocket side in one hand and turn it that way. Like that. That way the gap that you have or might have open is here. Otherwise it's going to be tucked in there and it's going to be trickier to get to. Not too tricky. If you've done it, don't worry about it. So you've got this right side out, and you've got your outer bag right side in. I'm going to put one inside the other. Put the handles down. And I've got the corners here. I'm just matching these up. So this is why we've left the top part where we've trimmed the seams. Oh, of course, forgot to mention, I've trimmed the seams on the lining. So if you haven't done that, you could do that before you start clipping stuff together. As I say, this is why I'd left the seam allowances uncut at the top. It's easier to open the seam allowances. And if you pull this kind of taut, easy to clip these long sides. We're going to sew them together all around the top edge using regular seam allowance. Now I don't have a removable base on my machine, so I'm going to prop mine up on some yoga blocks. That's the way we do it around here. And then sew all the way around the top. There we go, all the way around the top to sew these pieces together. Now you can either turn through your lining gap or through the pocket. I'm going to do this on camera so that I can show you that it is easily done. Just like that. Now whilst you still have turning gaps and all things like that, if you're going to add feet, now is the time to do it. So I've still got my marks that I made earlier. I am marking at the prong holes, which are these here. I've done this so many times that you can use these as a guide. I don't bother anymore. And then I can carefully And then mine are like a split pin. Through like that. And then you won't be able to see this on the camera because I don't have a light. And my house is dark at the minute because it is a heat wave. I am literally melting. So I've done is, where I've put this through the bag, once it's gone through the bag, you put one of these on and then open them up like a split pin. And then I'm going to cover them with some duct tape, just a piece of duct tape. This will help them stay nice in place. Also will protect the bottom of the lining from the prongs on the split pin. So let me do this and then we'll move on to the next section. Obviously if you've done feet you can just skip ahead, or if you're not doing feet rather, skip ahead. There we go. Bag, feet. Now we can start finishing off this bag. So if you have a gap in the bottom of your lining, what you will need to do is reach through the pocket, grab hold of the lining and pull it through. Now because of the gusset, it is a bit fiddly. This is what I mean, it's easy to turn through, but it's fiddlier doing this bit. But you will just need to smush it and try. Then once you've got the lining through, you can match up the edges, pin and clip, and then finish it off. Bit fiddlier, but that's what you need to do with the lining. Otherwise, we're all on this stage. We're going to match up the folded edges of the pocket and sew it closed as close to the edge as you're comfortable, like a top stitch almost, but using a regular stitch length. And then your lining pocket should be, zipper pocket should be finished. What we're going to do is tuck that right inside, do it up, and then push down your lining inside, zipper inside. And then we need to sew all around the top. I'm just going to chuck a couple of clips in. Bits of thread everywhere at the minute. So make sure everything's out of the way, handles, clips, snaps, whatever you call them, zips down, and we're going to sew all around the top stitch, all the way around. And just like that. Like I said, the divider is floopsy because there's weight to it. It wants to pull itself in from the sides. But once you get a bottle in there, that helps to keep it in place. And then because this pocket is on this side, if you have a particularly tall bottle, you can just partly do the zip up. See? Method in my madness. Big piece of cotton in there. Right, so that is that done. Oops. We need to do the zipper end. So, where's the end of the tape? There it is. Oh my gosh. I'm too hot and bothered for this. Whew. dear. More fingers and thumbs today. I really should start investing in the wider ones because I'm sure they would be so much easier to do. Right, once that's on and it's on the right way, you will use an awl or something pointy will help with making a pilot hole for the screw. So once you've screwed that on, trust me, I've been to so many craft fairs and taken bags when I forgot to add a screw. Now I had trouble the other week, so I used about 5 screws. So typical. Say that. What is that? That is a screw. I was going to say, I thought I used them all. Hey, nice. Zipper end is on. So in theory, the bag is finished. We just need to add a strap. So I have pre-made the strap, but there is a video in the playlist on how to make it. And then I will run you through just very quickly. So I've got my strap slider. Mine is one of the wide mouth ones, which are made for thicker fabric, just like this. So I've folded it over. If you want to measure 4 inches or so, and then mark it, bring the end in to meet that mark, you can do. Feel free to give yourself some wiggle room. So if you've got a rivet, you might not need as much space. If you're going to sew a box, you might want more space. So wiggle it round. It doesn't have to be an exact 4 inches and you can't move it. Do what works best. I'm just going to stick a clip in there for now because I will rivet. What we're going to do, grab a snap hook. I will also mention, if you're using one of these, it needs to make an M shape. So once that's woven through, make sure there's no twists or folds or anything. And again, if you wanted to measure 4 inches, or you want to fold it more, fold it less, go for it. It doesn't have to be spot on. Just make sure that it's not folded so that when you fold over this end, it's on the inside. If it does end up on the outside, it's not the end of the world. And then you have this, if needed. Obviously I will rivet mine, but I am literally roasting alive in this craft room right now. It's so hot. So I will say that to me looks done. Looks done. It looks blimmin' lovely. I'll bring this one out because I am happy with it. This is the one with the plain on the base, or the outer on the accent up here, and then this one is the Harlequin-esque effect. Both. Oh, I don't have a favourite. I can't have favourites. It's like kids. There it is. I like this one because this one is like a hidden zipper. It's a secret. There you go. That is Amara with the divider pocket. If this really bothers you, this bit's coming in, what you can do is put some rivets like here and here and this will pinch this together. If you find that yours is really trying to pull, especially if you've got really heavy stuff in here, all those big balls, put a rivet here and here on both sides, and that'll keep these pieces together. Do you know what? I might even do that. I might even do that as well. But there we go. Amara. Ta-da! Any questions? Please feel free to pop below or come on over to the Facebook group. See what everyone else has made.